Thought we could make a quick little video on this one. This was actually really cool. I really like this solution to it. We're going to take a look at it. I didn't read the whole post yet, but it seems like video worthy. So we've been talking a lot about this because this week they removed the Crest cap, the seasonal cap that is. So that means that you can now effectively farm unlimited crests. And honestly, I don't know what you would need with more than the cap anyway. Like, I haven't even gotten the seasonal cap yet, and I have pretty much everything upgraded. I could craft maybe 1 or 2 more pieces, so that would help. But yeah, realistically, it's very prohibitive. Like, I feel like you just don't get enough actual loot. The bigger problems for me are Mythic Plus and how loot is handled. But this is a really clever way to solve it. All right, so let's take a look at what they have here. This is the title. We're going to read the post, but this is going to be the starting point for Season 2. Here, everything we're going to read here. In next week's update, Siren Isle 11.0.7 will make several adjustments to the availability of Gilded Harbinger crests and to the acquisition of all crest types through Mythic Plus dungeons. Always good when you hear Mythic Plus, because that means that they're understanding that there's a problem and that they're, very specifically looking at Mythic Plus for the solving of the problem. A lot of times it feels like they make very blanket decisions based on, crafting and item level. And this is very similar to, or this is likely in response to raids. Like, everybody's always worried about this. The beginning weeks of a raid, being too easy to gear up outside the raid. But Mythic Plus goes by the wayside. So this is good that they say these words because it tells you that they're actually really thinking a lot about Mythic Plus. This plus, the ban of the levers and a lot of the changes they made with the 12 affix and then the death affix in the last pretty much month and a half. This is really encouraging. And I hope that it continues, and that we continue to see good changes for Mythic Plus. Anyway, Gilded Crest and Mythic Track gear represent the pinnacle of available gear from a season, and they are meant to be rare. But we have seen feedback that both the availability of these crests and the cost of crafting top-tier gear fell. They typo in their own post. Prohibitive, okay? Now, when I read that, I was like, oh, no. Because you know what they're probably going to do here, right? But they didn't do that, which is really good. I'm very, very encouraged by this. I'll tell you why I'm encouraged by this in a second. So anyway, currency rewards from Mythic Plus dungeons, crests, gold, valor stones, now scale by keystone level. See that? What's that word? Gold. We'll see. And completing a keystone outside of the timer now always deducts 4 crests. Okay, so it's a pretty hot topic. A lot of people don't understand why they remove crests from a non-upgraded key. And I don't either, to be honest. Obviously, you guys know me. I usually take Blizzard's side on it. This one's not a side that I can really take or understand. I don't see why you would need to remove some of the crests. And the fact that they're sticking with this is kind of still a little strange, but it's substantially reduced. So this tells you that they know they need to do this for some reason. We don't necessarily understand why, but we don't necessarily need to. They believe they need to lower the amount, maybe to combat some kind of botting or boosting. I don't know. I'm not really sure. But one way or the other, they believe they need to do this. And instead of going from 12 to 5, which is what it was before, it's now 12 to 8 at the lowest end. Okay. Now, we'll read the whole post, but we're going to continue. There's a good amount here. So let's take a little bit of a gander at this, okay? So we have Heroic and Mythic. Obviously, they drop a different thing altogether. I don't think anybody wants Carved. I don't even know what the hell that is or what that's for. But Ruined is pretty much like the thing that you would need the most, because that would be to upgrade the Hero Track gear. And then Gilded is the thing to finish it off. And then Gilded is the thing to upgrade all of the Mythic Track gear, which you would get mostly through Mythic Plus Vault, unfortunately. And there's no way to get it otherwise yet. Hopefully that will change someday. And then, obviously, Gilded is most famous for its ability to craft very, very, very good items. Not actual best in slot, but for most slots, if you especially can get best in slot stats, plus maybe the embellishment, it can be the best in slot piece. So that's really good. And so now you see the big change. So what they could have did was they could have just been like, yeah, just go, we'll give it to you from a 4, right? That's what I expected them to do. I didn't really think about what that meant for the other systems, like the other levels. But I think that's what a lot of people wanted. And unfortunately, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate. In my opinion, it's not. But they're not getting that want. I think this is the right choice because, like they said, Gilded are supposed to be important and rare. And 8 is a great, like, this is where it should end. Like, it should not be, especially below 7. 7, maybe. A lot of people thought 7 was the right number. 7 made sense. But anything below 7 is absurd because it doesn't even have the death affix. Like, that's just ridiculous. So good number, and really, really, really good because they're making the higher keys drop more, okay? Now, I know everybody wants to pretend that the only reason anybody does keys is for vaults, or I'm sorry, anybody who does like higher keys is doing them for score and not for vaults or crests, but you still get those things from them. It's like really strange that people still bring this up. Like, yes, 90% of people primarily are worried about getting score. I get it. Probably more like 95% or 90, 99, whatever you want to say. Most people are worried about getting score. But they should also be worried about getting this stuff too. The fact that they aren't tells you that Blizzard didn't do a very good job incentivizing these things. So will people care that you get 20 from a 12? I think they might, because that's a lot more than 12 from an 8, right? If you're trying to get a cap of 90, like let's see if we can do the math, right? 90 divided by 20, that's 4.5 dungeons. 90 divided by 12, that's 7.5 dungeons. Okay, saves you some time, doesn't it? Just finish the fucking 12s. Like, I don't know if this keeps going up. Like, if you do a 14, does it give you 24? I don't know. We'll find out maybe as the season progresses. Anyway, the number of Gilded Harbinger crests needed to purchase a nascent Gilded Harbinger crest was reduced to 60. It was 90. This is a really big change, too. This is another one that I think they hit the mark on. The reason they did that, we made a video on this during the beta, but the reason they did that was because they wanted there to be an additional level of upgrading gear. And in order to facilitate keeping them even, they needed to add additional cost to making the crafted gear to simulate the fact that it would effectively be gaining more power than it was relative to previous expansions. A lot of people probably don't even know that happened. If you've especially only played this expansion, you definitely don't know that happened. So people look like it takes a full, like the only thing they look at is like the fact that it takes a full weekly cap to craft one item. I think that's fair. But it's different than how it was in the past, okay? So anyway, number of Harbinger crests needed to purchase trade-up bags reduced to 45. So that's a relatively big change. I don't think many people actually engage with the system this way, but they should. And they made a good decision here to make the system like that. Because what this means is, especially once there is no cap, you can turn all these garbage, like weathered, like, I mean, you could just go up and up and up, right? And the cool thing about weathered is, you can just fly around. You don't even have to do content. It's actually really, really cool. I like that a lot. You can get one, I think maybe even two weathered from just flying through a thing, floating above the mob, like above enemies. You don't even get in combat. It's really, 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 really cool. And the fact that you can potentially now infinitely trade that up, I don't think anybody will, but I like that idea. I think that's a cool idea. So you can now theoretically cap, well, there's no cap, which is probably part of this, but regardless, you could theoretically upgrade all of your gear on the Mythic track from flying around with weathered, just getting those things. And then now it's half as, detrimental to trade up. The fact that you would be doing this, it would be taking you hours and hours and hours where you literally can just go around some keys, but still, it's possible. Anyway, Harbinger of the Gilded achievement now requires item level 636 in every slot. We just talked about this on stream, and this is why I knew I needed to make this video when I read this, because this is a really, really big deal. Let's see what they have to say. I think they're going to comment on it. I didn't read anything further. For players who are functionally finished with their gearing journey, the bar for Harbinger of the Gilded achievement was a bit too high, precluding the use of crafted gear and requiring luck to fill every slot. Well said. I mean, for Mythic Plus, that's exactly what's going on. They actually fully understand the problem. Good to hear. A lot of times people blame or they accuse Blizzard of being out of touch, or like, do they even play their own game, indicating that they don't even know what's happening at the ground level of their game. This tells you they do. They obviously know exactly what the problem is. Lowering the threshold from item level 639 to 636 should add a little more flexibility and ensure that players who are completing the hardest content feel that they can unlock the final warband discount, which is good. And I don't play that way. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't play alts, but that's pretty cool. You'll be able to upgrade your alts even easier now. So that concept of flying around and up, like just pushing all your crests upward, yeah, should be even easier. The changes to crests awarded for Mythic Plus have two main aims. Ideally, challenge and reward should be directly correlated. Well said. That's very articulate. That's exactly how it should have been from the get-go. Until now, players whose primary goal was optimizing crest income were incentivized to run the lowest difficulty that awarded the desired crest type. Didn't even think about it that way. because it's just a pure buff no matter what. Like, it's not a nerf to the lower levels. It's just a pure buff. But that's a great way to put it, because you're getting people. And this is actually going to change low Mythic Plus pugging. It's going to be a bit of a problem for some of you guys. But this is definitely going to make it so there's less 636 players signing up to 8s. I think that's good for the game, but probably bad for some individuals. This has the secondary effect of making it much harder for players just entering the Gilded range to find groups for Mythic Plus keys. Good counterpoint, to be honest, because obviously I've been advocating for players who feel like they're not able to get to where they want to go in the season to run their own key. Get it to an 8, and then you will guarantee double upgrade it to a 10. Probably, very likely, triple upgrade it. I don't know how reality of that is, but you'll definitely double upgrade it to a 10 every time. You just invite 636 players, and as long as they don't fight and leave, then you'll probably upgrade that key twice. I guess that is, not going to happen anymore. But now you won't have to do your own key to be able to do an 8. This is a big deal, actually, probably, I'd imagine. Anyway, because they were often completing for slots who really belong in 10s, 12s, or even higher. Yeah, way, way higher usually. Anyway, while it is important for all members of a Mythic Plus group to have a shared interest in finishing a dungeon within the timer, rather than just the key holder, Blizzard, saying things, dropping from a reward of 12 crests down to 5 when the timer was missed felt overly punitive. That's the word, right? Not puntative. That'd be if it was a gnome. Currently in patch 11.0.5, for example, a group who fails to beat the timer in a Mythic 7 will receive more crests for their effort than a group who crushes the timer in a Mythic 4. Oh, interesting. I didn't even think about that. Very interesting. Yes, because now a timed 12 gives 20, but an out of time 12 still gives more than a timed, or the same, I guess, as a timed 10. Oh, I did not even put 2 and 2 together there. That's a great change. So now it's, oh God, they're adding reasons to finish keys. Can somebody just wake me up? Is this a dream? It's not a big one, but it's people say like this was step 1, and I agree. It really was. This was the first thing that needed to happen, and they're doing it. We hope that a difference of 4 crests strikes a better balance of incentivizing group effort while still feeling rewarding. It's very wise. Yeah, because now there's no more, I got into this argument the other day. I'm sure that guy's going to comment again now. This person comments on every video. This person's like, just go run 8s. Why do you want me to stay for another 10 minutes? Like, we're at the last boss of a dungeon, right? I was like, can we just finish this? Like, I need the stuff from it. I need the vault. I need the crests. And you're like, bro, just go run an 8. Like, if an 8 would take less time than just finishing the 12 we're in, 13 we're in. Okay, guess what? Now you're just wrong. Why? You know what I mean? Now it's like, now there's no reason to go run an 8. There's no reason to go do a lower key. Finishing the dungeon, I mean, unless you're talking about go run an 11. Like, if we're doing a 12 or higher and it's out of time, what's your next statement going to be? Oh, just go run an 11, bro. It gives more than 16. It's like, no. Like, what are you talking about? Let's just finish the dungeon. It's going to take 5 minutes. Anyway, we hope that a difference of, okay with that. Our goals with these changes is our goal. Our goal, there's only one goal, guys. With these changes is singularly to help players who are attempting to push into the upper echelons of content, as well as those who have alts they're looking to gear up to match the progress of their mains. Thank you for all the feedback that helped shape these changes, and as always, we'll be following closely to see how these reward structures play out in 11.0.7. I would love to hear some of your guys' comments on this. This is a very good change in my eyes. No announcement of anything I would like to see. Really not that big of a deal, to be honest. Crests, a lot of people, I'm telling you right now, if every item that dropped was like 15 item levels higher in a 13 than it was in a 10, people would still say go run 10s. I promise you. There's just this weird backwards thinking about failure that people are just allergic to failure. They just sprint away from it as fast as possible. It's not going to make that big of a difference. But this, plus the lever bans, plus the changes to the timers, plus the nerfs to the 12s affix, they are really making a lasting impression on my... They're making me believe they care about Mythic Plus again, which is really good. I mean, obviously, they've faltered in some way by listening. Like this, we talked about this on stream too, but like everybody who asks for no affixes, you put us in this situation, all right? I just, whatever. At this point, I don't really care. It's honestly worked out pretty well. you put us in this situation. We had a system that worked for freaking 8 years. You asked them to completely redo it. I mean, you don't probably realize you did because everybody thought there was an option to just straight up remove affixes and change nothing else. That was never going to happen. I think hopefully now you can see that. Like, you see how much stuff had to change for them to consider removing affixes. And, we have this circumstance that is here because of it. Not necessarily the gearing is probably not super related. I think that's more related to just general gearing changes that they wanted to make. But this idea here where, you think you should be able to get the best currency and best gearing from like a low key that you would get from a high key was faulty. Like, this is not how it should ever have been. The high keys are objectively harder. And my question is, does it go up past 12? I assume no. But still, a very, very good change. So I'm very happy with this change. And the only thing I still want to see besides a full system to try to get people to finish keys no matter what is the ability to upgrade hero track gear into mythic track gear with the Gilded Crests. I said that the best way I would like to handle it is you buy one of these nascent Gilded Harbinger Crests and you click it on the item and it turns it into a mythic track at 0 of, like 1 of 6 or whatever. So it goes from 6 of 6, actually goes downward. So there's a bit of an opportunity cost here. Like, is it worth it? I think this is a really good way to handle it long term. I have a whole, I could go on and on about gearing systems in Mythic Plus. I personally would like to see a huge expansion of all of the gearing systems for Mythic Plus, but they'll probably never do it because of raid and everything else. So let me know what you guys think about this. Are you satisfied? I'm sure a lot of people still want Gilded Crests from below 8, but, I think the death affix is probably going to go. So this is a season 1 change, but technically a season 2 change coming early, I think. So if you think about what season 2 is going to look like, I think it's going to be a lot easier than season 1, one way or the other. I wouldn't be surprised if the affixes get nerfed or even changed in some way that functionally makes dungeons easier. We're going to have more gear, more scaling, more power. This is effectively a nerf in its own, because now, unless you were totally not getting a single mythic track piece ever, you're going to think about this, right? You're going to be able to craft 3 items in 2 weeks now because of this change. Is that the right math? I think so, yeah. 3 items in 2 weeks, whereas used to be only craft. Well, that's not true because of anyway, you know what I mean. You're going to be able to upgrade more gear more quickly in the beginning of the season. So this is effectively a nerf to the content to some degree. And on top of that, it's also probably going to be easier numerically because of changes they're going to likely make to the affix system. So I think this is going to be very satisfactory for most people. But we'll see. Thanks for watching. Let me know.